Hi, Sheila here again, and I'm just going to run you through how you would start getting a child to read a word. Now, usually we would introduce the sounds of the alphabet in the context of a word by getting them to build up a word using the sounds. So, for example, in another video I've shown you, you would put the sounds s, a, t, and you'd talk them through how to build the word sat, create the word sat, make the word sat, and then be able to say the sounds in that word and read that word. Now, that's how we teach the sound spelling correspondences in the alphabet, but of course they need a lot of practice. They don't just need to build the word up with you once, they need to be doing it, and they need to then approach it from the other side where they're not listening for the sounds, they are faced with the printed word, and we want them to be able to recognize the sounds in the word, to say them, and to then be able to read the word. So you'd always introduce words by creating the word, building the words up together, sounding out as they go. But once they've done that with a word, you can then start getting them to read the word. So here you would just have a word. Quite simply, I've got the word sit. Now, they'd have built that before, so I would just say to the child, we're going to read a word. I've got a word here. Do you think you can read it? Can you say the sounds and put them together to build the word? And hopefully the child would remember some of them. So s, I, t, and together sit. Now, obviously, you only choose a word where they do know the sounds that are in the word, yeah? And if you've done, here's another word, this is the word mat, and again you'd do just the same, but again you'd have built it first, you'd have put the word together first with them. But obviously they've got to be able to approach text that is printed, so they need lots of practice with that. Now, I have done a separate video about children, young children, and writing. So if your child is of an age where you're happy to get them to write, then once they've read the word, you could get them to say the sounds and write the word down. Not copy the words, but try and say the sounds and write it either on paper or on a whiteboard. But as I've mentioned in other videos, we have got to be very careful. If you're teaching your child at sort of a preschool age, you've got to be very wary about not getting them to try and hold pens and write letters before their little bodies are ready for it. Otherwise, they just develop quite a lot of unhelpful habits that they'll have to get rid of, as it were, later on. So if you don't want to get them writing it, you can still check it by they've read the words on the piece of paper. Then you can say, why not say the sounds and I'll write it down. Yeah. If they want to have a go writing, that's fine. But do not be pushing them for correct letter formation if they're preschool age. And then you could just say, it's another way of them rehearsing what the sounds are. So the word we just read was sit. What's the sounds in sit? And get them to go s, it, and when they say s, you write it down. It's another way of them rehearsing the word that they've just read. And remember, for anything, for learning to get embedded into the long-term memory, we need lots and lots and lots of repetition. So they don't just read the word once. You'll do that again the next day, maybe the next day with a couple of different words, because it's that repetition that gets it out from the working memory eventually into their long-term memory. And then, of course, they need lots of practice at getting it out again. That's called retrieval practice. So have fun reading words.